I was going to sit there and try to do a shout out to everybody who was showing up early and on time, but there's just too many of you. And I'd rather save the time for training here. Okay, I think we're good to go here on my slides. Hopefully we are, and I'll just watch for a second. But let's get started with how to hear about 8A direct awards in the federal agencies. This is really important to me because we're at the end of the year, the end of fiscal year 2023. Today is August 1st, and there's a lot of fun in front of us, excitement in front of us for the next 8 weeks or 9 weeks, whatever it is, August to September. When you think about the activity, especially as it relates to direct awards and who's going to win them and how do you win them, whether you're an 8A or not, you get you join other people who are 8As and perhaps go after work together. As we go forward in the end of the year here, some people are going to make it happen. Some people will get those direct awards. Some people are going to watch it happen. How come it's not coming to me? How come no one's knocking on my doors? And some people will wake up in October and say, well, wait, what happened? What do you mean billions of dollars was just awarded through direct award? Forget about all the other competition type. Just in the end of the year, there's a lot of activity that's going to happen. And some people are going to wake up at the end of at the beginning of the next fiscal year saying, what happened? What did I miss? I don't want that to be you. I don't want you to stand by and watch it happen. My training today is designed to help you make it happen. Somehow, if you're an 8A firm or if you've got solid quals and you can team up with an 8A firm and teach them what I'm teaching you, you can go off and try to win direct awards, doing the right things. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's training. We're going to cover down on what direct awards are, and most importantly, why are they important? Why do you want to be paying attention to them? Second, I want to cover who you can talk to, right? Who's going to let you know about direct awards? There's a lot of people you can talk to out there, and I want you to stop talking to some of them for a second, because some of the people out there are more important to you as it relates to direct awards. And then the last thing we're going to end up today's training with is very tactical guidance for you about where/how you can hear about direct awards, how you can increase the likelihood that you're going to hear about direct awards. So that's what we're going to cover down today. If you don't know who I am, my name is McDonnell. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Back when I started this thing, I taught the process to 5,000 hub zone firms and then watched them win $3 billion in a single year. This can happen over and over again for all of small business community if we just learn the process and follow the process. And that's what you see here. If you're looking at my screen, a 7-step process for success. There's a lot of us who teach it. I just like simplifying it right here and making it very easy for you to see, what do I need to do to win? If you haven't done this already, put your company name and your core competency into the chat. We have hundreds of people who watch the training in any given week. I want to make sure they see who you are. You can be making connections over and over again. I got multiple thank yous today from yesterday's training. People just saying, thanks a lot for doing the training. I was able to connect with Sally and Sally with Johnny or whoever, right? But they can't do that if you don't put your name and core competency into the chat and they know that you're there. It's pretty easy to watch the training without engaging at all. And I respect that. But if you want to build your community and your own network separate from me, engage with the folks out there and let them know that you're open to connecting. Okay, so why is it important to hear about direct awards? And really, what are we talking about when we say direct awards? Again, today is August 1st. So we have August and September of 2023. That's the end of fiscal year 23 for the federal government. Last year in FY 2022, 67% of all of FY 2022 direct awards happened in the last quarter. So July, August, and September, 67% of all direct awards happened in that last quarter. That's massive, right? I'm not here to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm here to say that's when it happens. That's when I'm putting my fishing pole in the water. If you look at it a different way, lots of spending, actual dollars happen through these direct awards that I just said. 3.5 billion happened in just the last 2 months of FY 2022. $3.5 billion was direct awarded to 8A small businesses. There's only like 6,000 of you. And this happened in August, September, FY 2022. The chances of it happening again is really likely because this happens. It's end of the year spending. If you're not an 8A small business, then you just want to team up with one of the 8A small businesses I just mentioned, 6,000 of them. Find some that are aligned with what you sell and see if you can't work together to go after something. They get 51%, you get 49%. It's a good split. Everybody wins. Another reason you want to hear about direct awards, not find direct awards. Of course, I want you to go find them, and we'll talk about that. But the reason you want to hear about direct awards is because you just can't possibly knock on every door that's out there. There's too many federal buyers out there. I put in here that there's, in DoD alone, there's over 185,000 acquisition personnel. That's in one department within the federal government, 185,000 people in acquisition-related jobs. Not to mention all the supporting things that go into an acquisition, right? And so that's a big deal. You can't knock on all these doors. And so you want to be able to hear about them. How can you hear about them? Part of it is having them find you. The fourth bullet here, direct awards. It means no competition. This is hopefully a no-brainer, but why you want to go after direct awards is because there's no competition. I always talk about, hey, shrink the competition from everybody to smalls, from smalls to like HubZone or something, and from HubZones down to like onto this NAICS or this vehicle or something, right? That's capture. That's just shaping it down so you eliminate your competition through the acquisition approach, et cetera. Well, you want to do that same thing. If you're an 8A firm, just narrow that thing all the way down. I just talked to a customer of mine yesterday, and I let him know about this $20 million opportunity, but it's in DoD. And I said, you should go after this thing. It's 6 months out. It's in the complete RFI, not sources sought, RFI stage. I said, if you can get in there with another partner that's aligned to what you're doing, you might be able to push that directly to a direct award, right? And that means no competition. That's what you really want. Competition is fine if we have to, but if I can sit there and win without a competition, I prefer that. And then the last two bullets, right? Another reason you want to do direct awards is because the potential for a multi-million-dollar contract is very real. I had a customer who's pushing on right now. They're closing the details with the contracting officer on a $4 million direct award. This came from them engaging and going after that kind of activity, which leads me to this last bullet. If you're an 8A small business, you only have a 9-year window. Don't get distracted by all these other things. Know what your core competency is, and then let your federal buyer who buys that know that you exist so that you have this chance to work with them. And if you're lucky, you can get a direct award with them. But you have 9-year window. And for most of us, right, that 9-year window is halfway gone. Maybe it's 7 years gone. You want to be able to push on the activity that you have access to while you have access. And direct awards is only an 8A, for the most part, only the 8A thing. By the way, if you haven't trained with me before, I move at a fire hose pace, solid information, solid tips at the end, but I get thirsty. And for you, it's like a fire hose coming at you. But you can always watch the replay. You can take screenshots as you go ahead. So let's talk about, I talked about why, right? So let's talk about who can let you know about the direct awards. How do you hear about them? Because that's really what I'm trying to get you to pay attention to. There's really two main groups of people I want you to pay attention to. A lot of folks out there, but let's call them, or I will call them, secondary points of contact. But the primary points of contact are the contracting officer and the small business, the SBA's business opportunity specialist. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So the contracting officer, we call them the focus of power. They're the power as it relates to any award that you get from the government because they're the ones who sign it. They're called COs on the civilian side and KOs on the DoD side. You don't know this because CO stands for contracting officer and KO stands for contracting officer. But in the military, we call our bosses commanding officers and they're the CO, blah, blah, blah. So we call them KOs. But either way, the contracting officer is the one who signs the contracts, right? That's a really important thing. In the end of the year kind of activity, they're also moving at light speed. Things are coming across their desk. They got a bunch of stuff. In my, when I was talking about I've been a small business owner for 20 years, I've been awake at like 11:59 on September 30th, signing a deal with a KO on the phone. Like we're trying to knock it out so it can get done by midnight. They work extremely hard in the last, they all the time. But in the last 2 months, they work extremely hard. In the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 days, in the last 2 hours, they are just going gangbusters to get off their plate as much as possible. And so you need to be visible. You need to be able to make sure that they're aware of you because they're one person, one type, one role who can let you know about opportunities and direct awards, et cetera. Their counterpart is the contract specialist. Often the contract specialist is doing the bulk of the work and those KOs are just signing it. They're just lazy. Nah, just kidding. But the contracting specialists work just as hard, if not harder, because they're doing a lot of the interaction with industry, interaction with the program office. They work neck and neck with the contracting officer, just that KO is the one who's doing the signing. But that's another one that you really want to be tracking. To me, they're kind of the same group, though. The acquisition person or personnel on opportunities that you want to go after. That's a main one that you're going to hear about, direct awards. And I'll talk about what you need to do in a minute on how to reach these folks. And then the SBA, the business opportunity specialist. Most of us know we have, for 8A firms, we know that we have a boss, a business opportunity specialist, and they're located in the district office. These folks are tracking together with 8A firms to be able to help them navigate agencies, go after opportunities, as well as hearing from the agencies who reach out to the district office and to these bosses and who are saying, hey, I'm looking for an 8A firm that can do blah, blah, blah. Can you do that? I have customers who have told me stories where that's exactly what happened to them. Is their business opportunity specialist was this liaison between an agency and this person. That's how they heard about an opportunity. And so you want to make sure you're tracking on those folks. And I'll dive more into that as we go along. One group that I really want to just set your mind straight on is small business specialists. They're gatekeepers, right? And we can go back to it in a minute. I have small business specialists and a lot of people who watch this training. I'm not talking about the good ones. I'm not talking about the great ones. But for the most part, when you think about great, by the way, I put some examples down. The State Department, they completely integrate, it seems to me, the small business professionals and the acquisition professionals together, and they work together. If you're chasing any opportunity with them, you're constantly seeing the COs and the small business professionals all being discussed at the same time. They're at the same meetings, et cetera. They're all trying to push forward on RFIs and sources sought together. You see them working really well together. I think that's a great testament to the head of contracting activities out there, and George Price, who I think is the OSDBO at State Department. So that, from a high level, is a great one. And then you got individual type heroes like Matt Burkett and Dave Waltz, who are out in Naval Surface Warfare Centers, two different ones. Dave is always on their training here, but they're great and they interact with their contracting shops. And so they're aware of what's going on, but that's not always the case, right? A lot of times this bottom bullet, so many small business professionals, they're not really that engaged. And sometimes they're just held back. They want to be engaged and they can't get engaged because the KOs and the acquisition shop's not really talking to them. Maybe they're in a whole different location. I don't care what it is. They're not that engaged and on a regular basis. And then as you move forward to the end of the year, they just can't be that engaged because the contracting officer is just moving so fast through things, the contract specialists, and they're just doing a lot of their own market research or figuring out what's going on. And then in the middle there, I put the gatekeepers, right? They're busy fielding all of us small businesses, reaching out to them. I'm not knocking them. What I am trying to say is when you look about where you're putting your energy, small business professionals, to me, in the end of the year spending, kind of come to this category of a second tier phone call that you make. That first tier is, as an 8A, your business opportunity specialist and the acquisition shop. You need to be in that acquisition shop. One thing, before I go into that, one thing I did want to say, just in case I don't say the where and the how, on the acquisition shop. Oh, no, I got it on my last slide. I'm sorry. So I'll tell you about that in 1 second. If you don't get onto our website, get onto our website. We've got the directories out there, several different directories. They're free. This directory, as an example, is small business professionals. 1,000+ small business professionals at federal agencies. They're great. Focus is a receptivity. They'll help you navigate an agency. So download that. And then we put in an Ask Me Anything. We've heard from too many people who say they can't get questions answered. We're like, well, you know what? I don't do questions in these live trainings, so just fill out the Ask Me Anything form, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We've got kind of a flood that comes in, and lately it seems like people are like, well, let's stump Neil. Let's see if we can give him a hard question. But if you've got an easy question, a hard question, reach out to me if you've tried Google and you haven't had any luck. Okay, so let's wrap up here as we move forward with, and I want to show you a couple of different things, but I want to show you how you can hear about more direct awards. There are specific things you can do to hear about more awards. And one of the things you have to know about me is I do not tell secrets. I don't even let people tell me secrets. I don't want to have secrets. There should be no secrets in life, in business for sure, right? the idea of what I teach, it's a process. And the reason I teach the same things kind of over and over again is because that is exactly what a process is. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you've been to one of my 350 or so trainings in the last 15 months, you know that I always begin with the small business profile or the dynamic small business search here. The dynamic small business search tool, DSBS, it's a combination of SAM and DSBS, and it makes up your small business profile. That is the #1 market research tool in the federal government. It is the supplier portal of the entire federal government. We cannot do business, basically, certainly not as an 8A, unless we're registered in SAM. I just want to go to the next slide and show you how important this is in maximizing your 8A certification, et cetera. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on here, but I do just want you to understand on the left-hand side, what happens when a market researcher is coming out? Let's say they're looking for 8A firms that they can work with, maybe even direct award to, right? The first thing they do is they come over to SAM and they look and they go, okay, we got all these businesses. Let me enter in a keyword. I say they don't enter in NAICS codes because if you enter in a NAICS code, you're going to get 1,000+ businesses. But if you enter in a couple of NAICS codes like zero trust architecture or elevator maintenance, that list goes way down. You're getting really much more specific. And so they do a keyword search just like they would do on Google, and they get a set of results, this table that shows them a whole bunch of companies. And from there, they begin to do this qualification. Think about it just like you would do with resumes or people did with social media apps, right? You swipe left and right. If I got a pile of resumes and I'm saying I want them to have a degree as an example, no degree, yes, yes, no, 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 yes degree, no degree, no degree, yes degree, right? That's the process for qualifying. Excuse me. And so what they do that on are these fields like capability narrative, and I'm going to come back to the right-hand side in a second. Your capability narrative, this is a short answer inside of DSBS that answers what do we do, because they want to see a match. They're looking for some similarity to the keywords that they search. And then the next thing they're looking at is your experience. So they look at what you say you sell, and they go to the very bottom and they see experience. So that's market research, right? Let's just go over to the right-hand side for a second. This is why it is so important that I teach DSBS almost every time I teach any training, but certainly anything about getting found by federal buyers. Here's the problem over here. There's, when I did this slide, and it's a little bit old, like months, I think, but there's 6,300 8A firms. Of those, the first thing that I see, and the reason I'm putting it here is because it kind of impacts what the buyer or the market researcher is doing when they're checking. The first thing they see is this do not accept credit card. So one of the first things at the top, and if it says don't accept credit card, subliminally it tells them that you're not mature enough organization to take a credit card. How can you take $4 million? How can you take $1 million? You can't even take a credit card. That's a simple yes or no in SAM. Just go in, click, and it's done. But the default is don't accept credit cards. Go into DSBS, change that. Coming down, I said keywords, and the next thing, 3,000 firms out of 6,000 have no keywords. They have 10 keywords. But you have this ability to have 525 characters to describe your company. And most companies, most 8As don't even have those. So coming down, the narrative, this one right here with 4,641, 4,000 or 4,600 firms barely have any capability narrative. That's where you're describing what you do. It's half full. So it's basically 500 characters or less. You're leaving out 500. And if you go to the second narrative, because there's two narrative fields right on top of each other, and go watch my training, all sorts of free training on this, 6,200 out of the 6,300 barely have anything in the second narrative. And so you're making it hard for buyers to find you. You're making it hard for yourself to hear about potential direct awards at an agency. And then coming down to the one that is really just so shameful that we let 8A firms go into this situation. I mean, we being those of us who support you, the SBA, the PTAX, the fact that we could let 75% of the 8A firms put no past performance in their profile it's not criminal, but it's bad. I don't like it, right? And the reason is because if a buyer or market researcher is looking at your profile and they get to the bottom, they go, oh, they got no experience. I need somebody who's got at least 2 or 3 experiences. And you're like, what? I got a lot. I have customers that I interact with, and the first thing I look at is like, hey, you got 30 past performances in the last 3 years. Get them in there. So when they come down, the buyer, the market researcher goes, whew, this is a risk-free company, basically, right? If I go with them to bring them in to talk, they clearly have been paid for the work that they say they do. And so that's a really important thing for us to pay attention to. And just because I got a little extra seconds here, you see at the bottom one, it says no secure website. 5,700 8A firms out of 6,300 have no HTTPS. We in the government are hyper sensitive to cybersecurity risk, right? And so when your website on DSBS does not say HTTPS, then it means that it's unsecure. Or, for a lot of you, I sometimes go to it and it is secure. You're just not telling them. Subliminally, it makes them afraid to click on your site. Worse than that, DSBS is not a smart tool. It's a database. And so when they do click on it, it often just errors out. You need to go to your DSBS profile and check these things. Click on the link for your own website and decide, does it even go? The SBA recently put capability statements into all of the profiles, but for 8A firms, they automatically populated it. And that means a lot of you have very old capability statements inside of your DSBS profile. So that was a lot there to talk about. That is a very important way to hear about direct awards, is when the market researcher comes into DSBS and does their search, you want them to find you attractive by what you say you sell, and you want them to see you as risk-free by coming down and seeing the experience. All right, so let's talk about the second way. The second way is the supplier portal. If the DSBS and SAM is the #1 supplier portal out there, there are many others that the buyers are going to, right? And so when they do market research, before they go to DSBS, if they have their own supplier portal, then they'll use that. So let me come over here. So this directory here, it's free on our website. We put this information out because it needs to be in your hands. I wish I had this when I was running my businesses. That's why we put such valuable information out for free, is because I don't want you to have to go through all the hurdles that I did. But here is a vendor supplier portal directory. And if you come down, you'll see on page 3, it starts with links. And when you see it blank, it means we're still digging, right? We're still trying to find it, but we're hoping there's something. But look at all these supplier portals for, Department of Veterans Affairs, Health and Human, or DHA, the health agency. HHS has their own. It's a beautiful portal out there. And when you go, you'll find so few firms in there, but there's enough firms for the government to look in there, go, let me pull these 5 or 10 out and go away. So they'll never find you because you're not in there. Go to HHS, register, go to all these other ones. If you come down, you'll see some more in the DoD. And then on this directory, or in this portal directory, we also have all the large primes, right? The top 100 primes, we've got them in here, and their supplier registration. Almost every single one of them has a registration. And so that's an added value in there. Okay, and then the third thing you can do to hear about direct awards, right? I mentioned earlier about business opportunity specialists. You want to have a solid relationship with yours. What happens sometimes is we turn small business, or these business opportunity specialists, we turn them just into this school teacher or compliance person, right? It's like cybersecurity or CISO in an agency or a company. We're like, they're always just trying to make us do cybersecurity stuff. They're interfering with our ability to do the job. Well, only when we look at them that way. When we look at them as a partner in what we're trying to get done, we see so much more value. And so business opportunity specialists, you can see so much more value if you see them as more than just twice a year. I have to report to them. How about every 2 weeks, I'm going to get on a call for 5 or 10 minutes to just say, hey, Sally, I'm just touching base. I just want to let you know about something we did. Is there anything I need to be paying attention to that you're tracking on? Whatever it is, you build that relationship and you find out from Sally how often you can call. That's a good thing where you're not pestering, but they're there to help you. Don't avoid them. Figure out how to work with them. And they're the ones who make direct awards happen, right? When you do a direct award, it goes through these business opportunity specialists. And so you want to make sure you're engaging with them. Something else I mentioned, and we have a new directory. I must not have put it here, but we have a new directory of these business opportunity specialists. The information's out on the internet. You can find it. It's just in many, many places. And so we just took it for our own customers. Our workshop customers, we've got a lot of 8A firms. So we just took it, put it together in a directory. But what I'm recommending is you reach out and you call these business opportunity specialists that are not yours and see if you can do a quick intro. Can I send you a capability statement? Whatever. There's 6,000 A&A firms. I guarantee you, I'm telling you this suggestion, not many will do it because it takes time to pick up the phone. But if you do it, now you've got more people who are aware of your company and who can let you know about potential direct awards. Remember, I gave an example of a district or a agency calling a district office. What if that district office goes, yeah, I don't know anybody, but you know what? I know somebody across the country who's been calling me. Well, I'll just put you together with them. They don't care. They want to help the government agency and they want to help an 8A. If they're helping you and they're helping them, then everybody is it's going good for everybody. The last thing I wanted to mention is how you can hear about 8A's direct awards is make sure you're reaching out and talking to the contracting officers that love 8As, that do direct awards. My entire training yesterday was on how do you find agencies that do that. I'm going to do another training that is specifically how do you find contracting officers that love 8As. But for the moment, go watch yesterday's training and you'll see how you can find the agencies that love 8As because they're doing direct awards all the time. Why knock on doors of agencies and contracting officers who are not doing direct awards and didn't do it last year or the year before? Knock on the doors of the agencies and the people who are actually saying that they love working with 8As and they like doing direct awards. By the way, that directory of business opportunity specialists, I'll throw that in the sustaining members directory out there. So here's what I want you to remember from the training. As you move forward, one thing in 3 parts, right? Complete DSBS today. I rarely make mistakes, but complete DSBS today. Go in there. That's how buyers are going to be trying to find companies like yours if they don't know you. They're not going to go to your website. How can they find that? But in here, you're able to say, I'm an 8A firm. I do this, and this is who's paid me. So get in there and make sure you're registering. If you're not familiar, we do these trainings every single day. So make sure you go to my LinkedIn profile, check out the featured article that has the 2023 trainings, and you'll see the upcoming training as well as all the replays. For everybody, just remember as you head out into the day that government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.